Howdy ho neighbors, Nintenjoel here once again, and if you read the title, you know that I'm just going to talk about 10 games that kick ass for Nintendo that won't break the bank. And this is actually a series that actually got requested by a couple of my viewers to bring back, oddly enough, and I don't get many requests. It's really cool when I do. That is really cool. So, yeah, the series is basically, I talk about 10 games that are under $20. This is before shipping costs. Hopefully you can get them locally for under 20 bucks, but even so, they won't cost you very much over 20 bucks if you do have to pay shipping. So maybe I should say under 25, but no, generally these are under 20 bucks. There's only a few that are hovering close to that magical $20 number. But, yeah, awesome games for Nintendo. Here's the thing about collecting for Nintendo. A lot of people are bitching about prices and, you know, where Nintendo prices are going, and yeah, you know, I bitch about prices too when I'm after really expensive games. It does suck, but I find that there's an equal number of games that I don't have in my collection that I need, that I know kick ass, that are under 20 bucks. Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. I've literally never owned that in my life. I've never run into a copy that was either in really good condition or was a decent enough price, and so I've never actually owned that game, but I've played it before, and it's a great game. So, you know, collecting is a tough thing. A lot of people go for the expensive stuff, myself included. I try to knock out a lot of the expensive games, but truth be told, if you look at my want list, there are about a third of the games on there are probably 20 bucks and under. And they're just games I've never run into, or every time I run into them, they're shitty copies for a shitty price or something. So, this will help you guys, hopefully, decide what Nintendo games to go after. Some of these are very well-known titles, but some of these are kind of underrated classics, in my opinion. Maybe it's because I grew up with some of them, but I love them, and I think they have great gameplay mechanics, and they're certainly worth their price. Certainly worth their price. But the fourth game I'm going to talk about, I will defend quite a bit because I have nostalgic value with it, but also for the price, it's so worth getting. Okay, so off topic. Anyways, I'm just going to talk about these briefly because I just want to get the info out to you, and keep in mind this may not be the last of the NES series that you're going to see of great games that will not break the bank, because there's so many great NES titles that are really awesome that are cheap, and people just don't focus on those. There are great titles that are not cheap. Or that are not expensive. Sorry. God, I suck. Okay. Alright, here's the first one. Bomberman. Alright, so admittedly this is a pretty well-known game. Or at least the franchise is really known. But it seems like for those amount of people that... For the same amount of people that do know about this game or franchise, there's an equal amount of people that just don't. I don't know why, and I'm one of those people. I never really played Bomberman until a couple years ago and fell in love with it. So, who knew there was a game back then that was so good that none of my friends had, I just heard of and never played, and who knew that I would really love it? That's awesome. So, Bomberman, I believe right now it's hovering in the $10, maybe $15 range. I've seen it a little higher, I've also seen it lower, but it's definitely worth a purchase. You're a little dude, you place bombs all over a one-screen level at a time. Every level is just one screen, and you have to uncover the exit door, or you have to open the exit door somehow. And you can get power-ups, and there's monsters that you can kill, and your biggest threat is your own bombs. They go in 4 directions, and you can get upgrades, so they go in huge, long directions, and you can get caught in your crossfire very easily. So it's a very strategy-intense game, and the levels definitely get harder as you go on. So also, I'd like to point out the amazing cover art. You know, you guys probably can't see as well, but Bomberman, the original, has my favorite cover art of any Bomberman game, and one of my favorite NES cover arts ever. So good, just as good as the game. Get this game. If you don't have this game in your collection, not shame on you or anything like that, but it's something that you should know about and you should get. Totally get this game. Same with this game, Krystallus or Krystallus. I've always called it Krystallus, though I hear a lot of people call it Krystallus. This is an action RPG that I just started playing recently and actually have a complete in-box copy of, and was fortunate enough to get it at a very good price. Krystallus is a really cool game. It's very Zelda-ish, but at the same time has RPG elements, And it's a game I just don't hear many people talk about, though when I do hear people talk about it, it's usually in high regards. It is an underrated classic. It's something that people just have forgotten about. It's like Bionic Commando or Blaster Master. These are really great games, but that people just don't really talk about anymore because the franchise has just kind of ended, and Krystallus only had the one game. But if you're a fan of Legend of Zelda or like Star Tropics, go for Krystallus. Really cool story. It's also cool that it takes place in the future. Yeah, or there's like time travel. It's pretty interesting. Check out Krystallus. Hells yeah. Oh yeah, so this game goes for, no joke, like usually $7 or $8. This game is cheap as shit. I don't know why, but go get it before it skyrockets in value. People realize that it's a freaking amazing game, and then all these people fucking buy it up. So maybe I shouldn't talk about these games? Crap. Alright, I'm going to talk about these games anyways. Don't buy them. Krystallus. Don't buy that game. It's great. Alright, next in line, we have a very obvious one. This one's a very well-known game, although to many people, they're just like, oh, I love Tetris. I love Tetris. Fucking Dr. Mario. I like Dr. Mario more than Tetris. Admittedly, not by much. Not by much at all. But Dr. Mario is my favorite puzzle game of all time. Tetris would be my second favorite puzzle game of all time. And, yeah, Dr. Mario is a very simple concept. You have pills falling, and you have to match up the colors to defeat viruses. That's it. If you play two-player, you can drop garbage on your other player. We always call it garbage. I don't know if that's what it's officially called in the game, but when you get, like, multiple combos of viruses being destroyed, you will cause blocks to rain down on the, or more pills to rain down on the other player's side. So strategy is involved, and just like Tetris, it gets faster as you go through the levels, and damn, it is fun. It's addicting as hell. I don't know, there's something about it I like more than Tetris. I love the music, I love the graphics, and my family always gets in huge competitions with these. It's like one person will talk shit, you know, my sister will be like, hey, you want to play Dr. Mario? And I'll be like, whatever. And she'll be like, yeah, that's because I'll kick your ass. And then it starts this huge, like, back and forth, and before you know it, we're playing Dr. Mario. She gets her ass kicked, or I get my ass kicked. It really switches back and forth. I'm not going to take credit. My sister, my brother-in-law, and my nephew, and myself are really, really good at Dr. Mario. I wouldn't say, like, competition-worthy, but I can take on most people in Dr. Mario and win probably 75% of the time. I'm pretty good at Dr. Mario. Dr. Mario is like literally $2 on Amazon, plus shipping. Go get a copy if you don't have this game. There's not many puzzle games that I like thoroughly enjoy and constantly promote. Dr. Mario is the one. Hell yeah, get that game. Okay, here's the game I was talking about earlier, where I said I'm going to kind of defend this one a little bit because a lot of people hate this game for some weird reason. The Secret Scroll, or as I just call it, Flying Dragon. Okay, Flying Dragon's a really interesting game. It's a fighter, and you have specific points that you have to hit on your enemies, but at the same time, it's a side-scrolling adventure, and they mix the two. They don't mix the two seamlessly, I will admit. You will have a side-scrolling adventure first. You will go on, and you will go on to a fighting round where it's more like a Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, not nearly like those games, but it's that type of fighter, and you just fight an enemy one-on-one and try to hit these points as they pop up. Like a point will show up, like a little circle will show up in their midsection, you want to hit that point, or a circle will show up in their lower section, you want to hit that point. It's really, really interesting. Very cool game mechanics. I don't know, there was something about this game that I got addicted to when I was a young teenager. There was something about it I really, really liked. I liked the music. Sometimes it was kind of dark, and it was hard. It was something I just wanted to go to over and over, and nobody ever talks about Flying Dragon. If you like fighting games, and you like side-scrolling adventure games, yeah, get Flying Dragon. It's like literally a couple bucks. It's just as cheap as Dr. Mario, if that tells you anything. So if you see it, pick it up. I mean, you may not love the game, but it's definitely worthy of a play or two. I actually like Flying Dragon. I pop it in once in a while. Okay, so that's the game I'm going to defend a little bit. The rest of these you might be a little more familiar with. Actually, most of these you're probably going to be familiar with, but people don't really talk about them. These are old games. The first Gradius. Gradius. I always call it Gradius. Whatever, you can bitch at me in the comments below. I don't care. I was lucky enough to score a 5-screw version. That's pretty cool. Gradius is a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up. You're a spaceship, and you are shooting shit. And you can get these little things that power up your ship, but you can kind of choose where they go in your power-up arsenal. You can build up your speed, you can build up missiles, you can build up lasers, you can build up all these things individually and wait to get more of these power-ups to cycle through which power-ups you want, if that makes any sense at all. You grab the power-ups and basically it lets you cycle one more into the line of which power-up you are powering up. That sounds confusing as shit, but most of you guys probably know what Gradius is or are familiar with a shooter that has kind of a similar gameplay mechanic. But Gradius is a really good game. Very good graphics for the time. A little bit of slowdown issue, of course. With a lot of shooters on Nintendo, it is kind of an issue. But it's still a great game, and especially for the price. It's a Konami game that kicks ass, and it's like $8. I mean, it's a good shooter. Get it. If you don't have Gradius, get it. Fuck, what can I say? Okay, now here's a special one. This is actually something that I haven't quite yet shown in my pickups video, but here's something I picked up recently. I'm still going to show it in the pickups video for those that maybe don't watch this one. But this is something I was on the lookout for a very long time, and I was lucky enough to score it from a very nice guy. This is Gunsmoke. Now, this is one of my favorite Capcom games. I've actually played this a few times before, and wow, there's something about Gunsmoke I love. Technically, it's a shooter. Technically, it's an overhead shooter, except for you're a cowboy. And what's really interesting is you have your A button to shoot this way, you have your B button to shoot this way, and then you press both buttons to shoot straight ahead. It is a really cool game mechanic that makes you constantly think on which buttons to press, and you get upgrades, and the screen is constantly scrolling forward. It's interesting, you start the level, and it says Wanted, and you have to go after this guy's Wanted poster. You have to obtain a Wanted poster from a townsperson. They want to help you, supposedly, but they charge you a huge amount of money for this. So you have to go through shooting baddies, getting money. You run into the dude. They say, hey, you want this Wanted poster? And you say, yes! And then you don't have enough money. So what happens is you actually cycle through the level enough times to where you have enough money, usually twice, to buy the Wanted poster. And then once you buy the Wanted poster, you get to the end of the level. The end of the level actually ends where the cycle would normally repeat, and a boss shows up. And you can buy weapons for, you can buy upgrades to your weapons, and you can even ride on a horse, which gives you a couple more hit points, basically. But it's basically a shooter, and it's an amazing shooter. It's a cowboy shooter. It's quite possibly one of the greatest cheap NES games that I have ever played. I played it on a compilation, man, I don't know which one it is right now. I'm trying to look through my games. It was on some compilation that had Gunsmoke. It was like a Konami compilation or something, and I played it and I was blown away. It was so fun. I do recommend a turbo controller, or your hands, your thumbs will get extremely tired very quickly. That's probably the game I plan on talking about the most. Yeah, this is a really good game, and it's only $8 right now. $6 sometimes, maybe up to 10. But yeah, right now I'm seeing it on Amazon for like $8, and I've scored it locally for 7, and I almost scored another copy, of course, as soon as I found this copy. Always happens. But yeah, get Gunsmoke. If you take anything from this video, if you have not played Gunsmoke, get that. Seriously. Alright, Little Nemo Dream Master. This is a platforming adventure game where you are a little boy and you feed candy to animals, and when you put these animals to sleep with your candy feeding, you can ride them. It's the freaking weirdest concept in a game, but admittedly it takes place in Dreamland. So it's just a very colorful and bright game that is amazing. It's also a Capcom game, and a wonder that it is so cheap in price. It's generally $5. So Little Nemo, if you like platformers and you love beautiful graphics for the NES era, that are very colorful with many different looking stages, then man, I cannot recommend Little Nemo Dream Master enough. Next we have Maniac Mansion. Now, I could say a lot about this game, but many people know what this is. It's an adventure game, kind of a point-and-click adventure. Your girlfriend gets kidnapped, and you can recruit 2 other people with you to go in this mansion, and all the people have slightly different skills, and you have to go through this mansion in a non-linear fashion and figure out what exactly is going on in this mansion and try to capture your girlfriend back. And very awesome music. Pretty cool graphics for the time. Just an overall game that you need to get. However, this is one of the games that is bordering on the near $20. I hate to say it, but there were a couple. This one right now, I was looking on Amazon and eBay, and it seems to be 15 to 20 bucks. So get it while you can. Maniac Mansion is a game that for some reason I never run into in the wild. It took me a long time to score this game. So yeah, it's a little bit uncommon, it seems to me. And you know how uncommon games are on NES. They tend to go up in price. So grab your copy while you can. Very cool adventure game. Okay, next, second to last. This is the other game that is bordering on $20, and you have to get this version if you want it under $20. This is Punch-Out! Now, of course, we all know there's also a Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! So do yourself a favor, and if you run into Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! For, you know, $1 or $2, grab it. Hell yeah, of course grab it. But if you're just going to play the game, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! And Punch-Out! Are the same games. The only thing that's different is Mr. Dream and Mike Tyson. That's it. They replaced his name. I'm not even sure if the graphics are different. It's been so long since I don't think I've ever actually compared both games at the end. And I've only gotten to Mike Tyson a couple times. He kicks my ass every time. But I'm actually really good at Punch-Out! Until I get to Mike Tyson. Mr. Sandman's pretty hard for me too, but I can usually get pretty far. But the characters on this boxing game, I mean, shit, who would ever think a boxing game would be so great? It is bordering on $20. Get it while you can if you don't have it. It's one of those games a lot of people are like, yeah, I'll get it when I can. I'll get it when I can. Get it now before it turns into some crazy $50 NES game. Because so many of those are happening. Yeah, get Punch-Out! If you can, get Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! Either way, it doesn't matter. Same game. God, the music. The music is so good, and the characters are so good. And the gameplay mechanics, kind of like Gunsmoke, you got one button for the left, one button for the right, or in my case, right and left, but for you guys, left and right. Yeah, dude, Punch-Out! Fucking amazing. One of the greatest NES games ever made. And honestly, one of my go-to games. I think 8-Bit Eric talked about that. What's your game that you go to when you know, are bored and just need a game to play? I believe it was Punch-Out! Was his favorite one. And boy, what a great choice. I could be wrong about that. I'll correct myself down there if I'm wrong. But yeah, Punch-Out! Kicks ass, but get it while you can. Last one I have for you guys, a game I spent so much time playing as a kid, Tiny Toons Adventure. Oh my god, so fun, dude. So fun. This is a great game that most people ignore because it's a cartoon game. No. Tiny Toons Adventure is a side-scrolling platforming adventure, not adventure game, but side-scrolling platforming game that is just incredible. It's so fun, in my opinion. You can switch between characters at the beginning of the level, so you can have one character that's a little better at one thing, work a level, and then the next level you can choose a different character, and it works so good. And the graphics are nice and bright and cartoony, and honestly, it was like the first game that I remember playing that I was like, this game looks like the cartoon. This is like the closest thing to the cartoon I've ever seen on a video game. And I was pretty stoked on Tiny Toons Adventures. I've had it since I was a kid, and I really love it. There's also a sequel, which is also cheap and also good. I just have not played that one as much, so I didn't really show it or anything. But yeah, either way you go, Tiny Toons Adventure 1 or 2, they're both actually pretty decent games, and they're both really good prices, like literally $5. So, you know, everything on this table is fairly cheap, minus Punch-Out! And Maniac Mansion, and they're all good games. I highly suggest collectors to maybe think about that when they complain about game prices. Are you going for games that are maybe only expensive? Because I highly doubt you have every single good cheap NES game. I mean, some people do, of course, the Game Chasers and some of the YouTubers, of course. But I mean, just regular Joes. Regular Joes. Do you have all of the cheap good games before you're going for Metal Storm and, you know, Gun Knack and Zombie Nation? I mean, sure, those are great games too, and I want them. But there are just as many cheap games that are awesome that you can find in the Nintendo library, and I encourage you guys to check out gameplay footage of all of these and see what you think and purchase them. Purchase them immediately. They're really good games. That's all I have for you guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Like I said, these are the 10 games that really just kind of jumped out immediately, but there are a bunch in my collection that actually jumped out at me that I didn't include because I only wanted to do 10. So let me know what you want to see in the bottom, and maybe I'll include it in the video. And if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos by me, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It's down there, it's red, and it says subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. I always appreciate your views, and keep rocking retro games. Yeah!